Hello, welcome to jaidrivingschool.com. My name is Jai Shri Somaya and my driving school's name is Jai's A-1 Driving School. Today we'll see different types of pedestrian crossings. Now, this is one type of pedestrian crossing where there is a zigzag line which tells you there is you are approaching to the pedestrian crossing, and there is a sign also showing you that there is a pedestrian crossing approaching ahead, coming ahead, and there is also zigzag line. If there is a car coming from this side, also he can see he's approaching the pedestrian crossing. So whenever you see zigzag line on the road or pedestrian crossing sign on the side of the road, that means you are approaching that pedestrian crossing. Whenever you are approaching the pedestrian crossing, you always approach at a slower speed. So any car coming from behind you will start slowing down. And if you see a pedestrian there approaching the pedestrian crossing, then you must come and stop within 1 meter from the pedestrian crossing line. If you are coming very fast and brake sometimes at the last moment, then you may roll over the pedestrian crossing line and stop. That's a fail item. And if you stop more than 1 meter away from the pedestrian crossing, that is also not accepted. So you have to come and stop within 1 meter from the pedestrian crossing line, and you always approach slowly. So in case if suddenly a pedestrian pops up on the pedestrian crossing or near the pedestrian crossing, you can easily come to stop within 1 meter from the pedestrian crossing line. And if there is another car coming from behind you, then if you are approaching slowly, he will also approach slowly behind you. And if you come to stop, if you see suddenly a pedestrian there, then if you stop there, this car won't come and hit you. So this is the reason they show you the zigzag line and they expect you to slow down. The same way this car will do the same thing. He will approach slowly and start looking for the pedestrians. If he sees a pedestrian approaching pedestrian crossing this way or this way or this way, then this car will also come to stop. So you are also looking in 3 directions, this way, any pedestrian coming this way, or any pedestrian coming this way and they are nearby, then you must come to stop and give them way. Same way, any pedestrian approaching this way or approaching this way or approaching this way, you must come to stop and give way to the pedestrian crossing. Now we'll see another type of pedestrian crossing. This kind of pedestrian crossing. In this pedestrian crossing, it's a children crossing, school pedestrian crossing. At these kind of school pedestrian crossing, of course you will see these are the white stripes drawn on the road. So that means that's a pedestrian crossing. There is at the pedestrian crossing, there is a children crossing flag are posted, and the pedestrian crossing signs are also posted. And sometimes there is a unbroken line away from the pedestrian crossing. So if you are approaching and there will be zigzag line drawn. So whenever you are approaching the pedestrian crossing, you approach slowly and try to look in this direction, anyone approaching this way or this way or this way, then you must come to stop and give way to that pedestrian. Same way, if a pedestrian is approaching this way towards the pedestrian crossing or this way, then you must come to stop behind this line within 1 meter from that line and give way to this pedestrian. Now when this pedestrian comes out of your way, then you pass pass that pedestrian crossing. Same way, if you're coming from opposite direction, that zigzag line tells you there is a pedestrian crossing coming ahead, so you approach slowly. So when you suddenly see a pedestrian at the pedestrian crossing, you don't do sudden braking, otherwise someone can come and hit you from the back, and you will stop just behind the line and without doing sudden braking. So always approach slowly. That's why the zigzag line and the signs are posted. They tell you approach slowly and start looking for the pedestrian. So this is school crossing. So where to stop, you have to see if there are lines away from the pedestrian crossing, unbroken lines, then you must stop there if there is a pedestrian. But if you are approaching the pedestrian crossing, you are slow, you are checking earlier, you came here, still you are checking and no pedestrians, then with care you pass the pedestrian crossing. Same way at this pedestrian crossing too. As you are approaching and you are slow and you are looking on either side and looking a little bit deep on either side and across any pedestrian coming this way or this way, and this way or this way or this way, and if nobody is coming, then you can go through that pedestrian crossing without stopping. So this is one kind of pedestrian crossing. Now we'll talk about other type of pedestrian crossings. Now sometimes this is another intersection. Where this is a crossroad intersection, but this direction has stop sign and that direction has stop sign, and these are the pedestrian crossing with the white strips on the road and the zigzag line drawn and the pedestrian crossing sign also there. So when you are approaching in your car, you will slow down and start looking for pedestrian on either side. Then you can see there is a stop line, unbroken line before the pedestrian crossing line. So you stop at this line within 1 meter from the line and count 1001, 1000, completely stop, full brake in, then start counting 1001, 1002, 1003. After 3 seconds, if you see no pedestrians are approaching towards the pedestrian crossing from these either side or from that way or from that way, from this way and this way, then you can go over the pedestrian crossing, and again you have another unbroken line. So you come to stop at that pedestrian crossing line, unbroken stop line, and again count 1001, 1002, 1003 as you're counting. And if you see a pedestrian coming and you are on the pedestrian crossing, do not worry, because you did stop at the stop line for 3 seconds and then you checked very well there is no pedestrian and no one is nearby also approaching the pedestrian crossing. That's why you rode over the stop line, pedestrian crossing line, and then you are stopped at the second stop line for 3 seconds. You have to count the same way after stopping for 3 seconds. Then you roll over the line to check any traffic coming, because this is the main road. You will give way to two-way traffic coming from your right side or left side, and wherever they are turning in you have to give way, and when no traffic is coming you can go straight through that intersection. Same way if you're coming to turn left on this side, you will come and stop at this stop line. Then you look for pedestrian. When there are no pedestrian, then only you come over here. There is another stop line. You stop there for 3 seconds. Then you creep over the stop line and check no cars coming, and no cars coming. Then turn on your side of the road. Don't go too fast, otherwise you'll go out wide. Your each turn has to be perfect. So this is how you turn. If you're turning right, you come and stop here for 3 seconds, then see if no pedestrian, you can roll over on the pedestrian crossing line and stop again for the second stop line for 3 seconds. then creep out, check no cars coming from right and left to turn in any direction or to go straight through. And if you see deep, there is no car coming, because you are making a right turn, you have to give way to the cars coming from opposite direction going straight or turning on the left. Then only you can turn here. So that's how you do it. If you're coming from this side, you can see there is a zigzag line. You will see from far distance there is a pedestrian crossing line. You will start approaching slowly. You have a stop sign, but you before the pedestrian crossing line there is a giveaway line. So you approach slowly, check deep. As you're approaching, you start looking deep in 3 directions. Nobody's coming on the pedestrian crossing. Then you can roll over the on the pedestrian crossing and stop at just before the stop line. This is your stop line. Stop completely, full braking, count 1001, 1002, 1003, then creep over the stop line and then check deep on your right and left. Any cars coming, going in any direction, you give way to them, and if no cars coming, you can come straight through. So that's how. So you have to see when you're approaching any pedestrian crossing who has got the sign and what kind of lines are there. Where is the stop? If you have a stop sign, where is the stop line? Sometimes there are 2 stop lines, or sometimes there is a 1 giveaway line and another stop line. So you have to follow. You have to see whether it's a broken line or unbroken line, and accordingly you stop or slowly approach your giveaway line and go over it if there are no pedestrians on the pedestrian crossing, and then come and stop on the pedestrian crossing before the stop line. That's how you go through the pedestrian crossing, but you have to check deep. Now you are coming to another pedestrian crossing here. This is another pedestrian crossing. Now there are cars there, cars coming from this side. This car has passed the pedestrian crossing going this way, and you are coming in this car in this lane, and you can see there is a zigzag line, and you see there is no pedestrian in front of you, but there is a in the left lane. This car has stopped at the pedestrian crossing. So you have to always think that if there is a car stopped at the pedestrian crossing, it must have stopped for some reason. It must have stopped to give way to the pedestrian. So don't come fast because you cannot see pedestrian in front of you. Because there is no pedestrian in front of you, it doesn't mean there are no pedestrian approaching the pedestrian crossing. So you have to come slowly. Never ever overtake the car stopped at the pedestrian crossing. When you come here, stop and look, lean forward and check deep, and then only you can see the pedestrian. When you are here, even this pedestrian you can't see because this car is blocking your view of that pedestrian. So always approach slowly. So whenever there is a car stopped at the pedestrian crossing, it must have the reason and it must have stopped to give way. So never ever overtake the car stopped at the pedestrian crossing. Always approach slowly, stop and look for pedestrian. So that is that. Now other pedestrian crossing will come to this one. Now there are 2 lanes approaching this way, 2 lanes approaching that way, and there is a pedestrian crossing there, and there are parked cars here, and you're coming in this car, and you can see there's a zigzag line. That means you're approaching the pedestrian crossing, but because of the parked cars you cannot see pedestrian here, and sometimes there are parked cars here too. So they are also blocking your view of that pedestrian too. So never ever approach too fast at the pedestrian crossing, because the zigzag line is telling you to slow down. So you come slowly, then look for pedestrian, and then come to stop within 1 meter from the pedestrian crossing. See, this is how you stop. And then give way to the pedestrians. So when you are coming, and if there are parked cars on either side, they could be blocking your view of the pedestrian. So always approach slowly, and there could be a pedestrian at that pedestrian crossing. So when you are approaching slowly, and when you come here, and if you see pedestrian, you can easily come to stop within 1 meter from the pedestrian crossing lines. So this is how you should approach. You have to be careful. Now we will see another example of the pedestrian crossing. Sometimes there is this kind of pedestrian crossing. There are lots of parked cars. This is a shopping street. It's a T intersection. This is the main road. It's the side street. And you will see lots of cars are coming. You are sitting in this car and you are asked to turn left in the test. Or even though there is no test, but if you are turning left here, when you come here, because of these parked cars, it's blocking your view of these pedestrians. So you approach slowly, and as you turn, you can see your pedestrian crossing. Approach very, very slowly, and when you come here, you can see these pedestrians approaching. There is another pedestrian crossing coming this way also. So you are just not watching these pedestrians or any approaching this way or this way, this way or this way, but you are also watching any pedestrian coming out there and doesn't step on this pedestrian crossing. Then you have to give way. So here you will be sometimes looking too far deep, in which you have to look deep, because sometimes because of the shopping street there are always people coming. So that's a right way to look for deeper for these pedestrian. But don't forget these pedestrians. If you see no pedestrian coming, but don't forget these pedestrians. As these pedestrians are coming out, they will turn on this one. They can turn on this one. So you have to watch deep on these two sides, this way, and this way. Any pedestrian coming, and they are very close by to this pedestrian crossing, you must give way to them also, and to them also. And then when there are no pedestrians, then with care you turn. You don't come too fast and go and stop and touch those pedestrian crossing line. That's a fail item. You cannot touch any pedestrian crossing line and come to stop. Your tire should not touch them. Otherwise, it's a fail item. Now, if you're coming from opposite direction, this direction, and there is a parked car here, but you can see there is a zigzag line, so you will be approaching slowly, and then you will be looking any pedestrian approaching this way or this way or this way, or any pedestrian coming this way or this way or this way. You will be giving way to them. Now you want to turn right here. So when you see no pedestrians approaching this pedestrian crossing, you can come out here. But if there is a car here turning left, coming with a left indicator, and you are turning right, you have to give way to him as well as these pedestrians. Once that car goes out of your way, and if this car is very far away and you see there is no pedestrian approaching this way or this way or this way on it, or anyone coming this way or this way on it, and there is no pedestrian approaching and the oncoming car is very far away, then only you can turn around. So these are the things you have to take care while going through the pedestrian crossing. And when you're turning right or left or going straight through, you have to watch the pedestrian crossings and pedestrians on it or approaching, or they are nearby them, then you have to give way. Now another pedestrian crossing we will talk about is this one. Now there is a crossroad intersection. You can see it's a crossroad intersection. This is the main road and they have stop signs. So you don't have to worry about cars coming from this side or this side, because they will have to give you way because you are on the main road. But you are approaching pedestrian crossing, then you have to approach very, very slowly. As you're approaching, you are looking in these two directions. Is there any person coming off there to turn here? As he's coming off, you have to be careful. You are coming slowly near to it and coming to stop, because he can turn, or a pedestrian coming this way, you have to give way, or any pedestrian coming this way, you have to give way. Same way, any pedestrian walking off this pedestrian crossing may turn on this side. So you have to watch that. You have to look deep this way, and any pedestrian approaching this way, if they are not too far, then you have to give way. So you must come and stop near the pedestrian crossing within 1 meter and check. If no pedestrians are there, everything is clear, you have given way to everyone, then you go. That's your way to go. Suppose you are turning left after you give way to them, nobody's coming for this pedestrian crossing from this side or this side or this side or this side. You have given way to everybody. Then you can go over the pedestrian crossing, and if you are turning left, you come here. Then if you see pedestrian coming across this way or this way on this pedestrian crossing, then you must give way. And after they go, then nobody's coming, then only you can turn. So you have to be careful. Same way, if this car is coming from here, he's on the main road, he's approaching pedestrian crossing, even though there are cars on this either side, but he should know that they have the stop sign, so they give way to this car. But you approach slowly, and if there are pedestrians walking across, then you can come and stop here, because you are on the main road. You are not blocking these cars. Why? Because they have a stop sign. So remember this, you can block the intersection here. Once the pedestrian go and nobody is approaching from any side, then only you can go through that pedestrian crossing. So these are the things you have to take care. If you're coming from here and turning right, then you can enter the intersection. Make sure no pedestrian is coming off this pedestrian crossing and turning on this one. Make sure look deep on your right blind spot side, right side, that no pedestrian is approaching this way or this way to go on this pedestrian crossing. Nobody's coming from this side also. Then only you can turn here. So this is how you do the turning with the pedestrian crossing, and after giving way to the pedestrian. Same way, if you are turning right at this pedestrian crossing after giving way to these pedestrians, if nobody's coming, then look deep across. If this car has gone and nobody's coming, you can come here, and if you see any pedestrian walking across, you must stop here. Let these cars go and let these pedestrians go. Check nobody's approaching this way or this way or this way or this way. Then only you can turn this way. Otherwise you stop there. So this is how you go through the pedestrian crossing. You have to be very, very vigilant at the pedestrian crossing. Look deeper on your left and right side also. And this is how you should go through the pedestrian crossing. Sometimes these are very busy streets and there are pedestrian crossing. There are shops around on either side of the road, this side, everything. So lots of pedestrians. So you have to be more alert, and you cannot go and stop on the pedestrian crossing lines. Thank you.